So, let me start with, to my immediate left. Todd, please, take it away. Wherever you'd like.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Everybody here, Andrew sneezed? That was a Breitbart sneeze. When he sneezes, that is of more significance than anything you read today in the New York Times or the Boston. It is a different world today in the media, and that's why we're gathered here today, because even though it's happening and it's happened, it's affecting what's going on in the world, we're in the middle of a change, and most people don't see it going on and don't understand it. But we live in a world in which those of us on the conservative side are fighting to break through the wall of false storylines that the liberal media has very effectively, historically, been able to use to create an impression that is utterly false of what goes on in our society today. So when you look at things the Democrats sell and sell quite effectively, for example, did everybody see the video of Andre Carson, the congressman, a couple weeks ago? Member of the Congressional Black Caucus, and they were out on tour doing what they call the jobs tour. And Andre Carson had a wonderful moment where in the middle of a racist rant, he talked about how members of the Tea Party in Congress wanted to see him hanging and see them hanging, and they wanted to see a return to Jim Crow. And playing a racial card that Democrats use on a regular basis. And what's very clear is that despite their claims of caring about civil rights, and I think we learned this when Reverend Wright emerged during the Obama election, that was a shock to a lot of Americans that we actually had believed this phony storyline from Democrats, that they were the party of racial reconciliation, that they wanted to move us in the post-racial era. Have you noticed that the post-racial era has more accusations of racism than any era that came before? Reverend Wright was out there ranting in a way that I think woke people up. So this is what goes on in the black church. They talk about how they're being held down by the white man. They talk in ways that we're not allowed to talk. We're called racist if we use language like that. And if we question it, we're told, well, black people can't be racist, only white people can be racist. And Andre Carson's remarks were even a revelation to me, and I study this all the time because I realized that what they've done is they've taken their language and they've got two meanings for all of their language. So racism, I noticed this from callers into WRKO as well. If I have a black caller and I'm debating these kinds of issues with him, if he doesn't like what I'm saying, he calls me a racist. And I'll say, well, but I didn't say anything that was vaguely racist. Explain. And they can't explain because the meaning of the word racism to them means you're saying something that's offensive to me, you want to take something away from me, you want to hurt me. The civil rights movement, I thought about this with Andre Carson. Civil rights to them means what we have in America today. It means a society of redistribution. It means that there's supposed to be this huge social infrastructure that takes care of them. If you're talking about taking that money away, even turning down the flow a little bit, even turning down the increase of the flow, you are, by their definitions, racist. You are trying to undo the civil rights movement. You want to see them hanging from a tree, like Andre Carson said. It's hyperbole, yeah, but they actually believe it because the meaning of the word is different for them. So we have to understand that structurally, there is a war going on, and it's a good thing, despite the phony storyline. And again, that's what today is all about, phony storylines that control our political debate. If you look at the phony storyline of race, and you look at the phony storyline of cutting social programs, none of it has to do with wanting to help people, and none of it has to do with Democrats being more compassionate. All bull dumb, all phony storyline, which America believes. So the wonderful moment we're in, and the reason that all those nice things about, well, I guess the big ego stuff wasn't so nice, Corey, but the Giants word was nice, and that was for what Andrew Breitbart and James O'Keefe are doing, which is using new media to pierce the veil of that which we couldn't understand before. So they run out there in unison and run phony storylines by us. The media repeats them, and they've always gotten away with it because there was no way to prove them to be the liars and manipulators that they are. And now we have the tools to be able to trick them or what have you. I don't care what. I had this debate yesterday on Facebook on the WRKO page, James, and we were having this big brawl over whether your techniques are appropriate or not. Personally, I don't care what James does. Do whatever you have to do to get that piece of tape and edit it any way you need to edit it to get people's attention and dress up in any costume you want to dress up in. To be able to pierce. No, that wasn't him dressed as the hooker. He was the pimp. Do whatever you have to do because this is about the fight for America. One last thought before I turn it over to Andrew. I just lost that thought as soon as I said that. It's old age setting. Well, I'll say this to wrap it up. Everybody should be watching this big fight in Washington and celebrating. One of the big phony storylines is that there's too much divisiveness in Washington. Not true. We need more divisiveness in Washington. Rosalie and I, my wife, were driving up here and we heard this country song that the hook on, maybe you've heard this, I'm not here for a long time, I'm here for a good time. And I thought how entirely inappropriate. I'm going to be in a room of people today who that does not apply to them all. We're all very serious people, I think. I think that includes everybody because we understand what's been handed down to us and the precious thing that it is. And that the Democratic Party right now is structurally committed to the destruction of the country. That's what they're up to. Because it's not that they care whether America gets destroyed or not, I don't think, but others might differ. I just think it's that structurally the way their party functions is that white America doesn't vote for them. They get 42% of the white vote in a presidential election if they're lucky, so they're trying to fill the country with people from other countries who they think will be more likely to vote for them. And then they have organizations out there whose job it is to get those people registered to vote. And they need to pay their voters off in order that they vote for them, so they try to transfer wealth, which they call a jobs program or a stimulus package, which is designed to take money out of the economy and hand it to their voters. Obviously, that doesn't stimulate the economy. So we can't fight hard enough. Tell everybody we need more divisiveness in Washington. And I can't think of anyone better to create it than either James or Andrew.